This is the Tech Podcast in 30. This week we're going to talk about the release of the Apple Watch to the scant few lucky ones who were able to actually pick up their watch on their doorstep. Haim Cohen of HaimTime.com is here.
Without an Apple Watch.
I was just going to say, what do you have on your wrists, though, Haim? Hold them up.
Oh, right now I have nothing because I just came back from walking.
Okay, well, I thought that a Fitbit might be appropriate if you were just walking, but Paul N. Shapiro of SearchWilderness.com, what do you have on your wrists?
Nothing.
See, I also have nothing. So,
which is shocking because you generally carry a rubber band on your wrist.
So it's. I think what this means, 6 out of 6 wrists are naked. I think it means that everyone here has a longing for the Apple Watch. That's why I ditched my Fitbit in anticipation of getting the watch. Haim, why are your wrists naked?
Because I said I just came back from the park, so I'm just taking everything off, and there's no reason for a watch inside the house.
But don't you have a Fitbit? What happened to your Fitbit? Did you sell it?
No, it gave me a rash.
Okay, you're Haim. Yeah, you and your class action lawsuit for the rash you had for 3 days. That's going to go really far. All right, Paul. Why are your wrists nude?
I haven't had an opportunity to go to an Apple store and check out the watch, and I won't buy it without doing that.
So, okay, that's pretty reasonable, right? And the way Apple set up the pre-orders, if you wanted, the pre-orders began slightly before you were actually able to try them on in stores. And now, when you look back, even at the time, it was not right. But when you look back in retrospect, it really seems unfair. It really seems like a shoddy release, right?
Well, no, you just sell. You get the watch, you get the one you think you want, you spend all the money, and you have your 14-day return policy. So in that time period, remember, you had at least a week. You might as well then also schedule your appointment, and if you don't like it, you can return it. Because remember, you can't just buy it there. You can't walk out of the store with an Apple Watch.
Correct, unless you are walking in with an Apple Watch, and that's a replacement. Paul, do you agree with Haim's assessment there, or do you think it would have been more fair, or just kind of like, I don't know, more equitable? Well, this is a synonym for fair, but would it have been better if Apple made the try-on period a week or 2 weeks before the pre-order period?
You could do that, but I don't. You could do what Haim said rather, but I don't think it's a good customer experience.
What, when you're forcing people to potentially order the thing blind without having had it on the wrist? So
it's very Apple, but it's a bad customer experience.
So they made the images on the website pretty. I mean, of course, super high quality photography as always. Even though they look like renderings to me, they sometimes show how deep they go into the lighting to make it look perfect. But yeah, when you go in to try it on, you can't even try on all of the models too. A lot of them are under glass. So you, at this point, if you want one of like the space gray or stainless steel or space black stainless steel, there's no way you could have tried it on before ordering it unless a friend of yours had it or something. So is this a supply chain issue, or is this a false velvet rope kind of experience that Apple's trying to create, where it's like getting into a club?
Well, they say the Sapphire and something else was the bottleneck. I don't remember what that something else was. Something about the wrong haptic Force Touch engine. But I know a student in my class who wanted the Sport Edition, and because they didn't have it, he took the step up to the next one, which is sort of their way of saying we'd rather people on the Apple Watch rather than the Sport.
Wait, I mean, that probably is indicative of the Sport being more popular, but you're saying that this high school student of yours got a June delivery date on one of the Apple Watch Sports, so he then spent the extra. It must have been a minimum of $300.
No, the other way. No, the other way. I have at my classroom. I have 2 students one student currently who has an Apple Watch, and
okay.
He has an Apple Watch, not the Sport.
Mm-hmm.
I have another student who is actually a developer and actually needs it for development purposes. Him and his father were going to order one. He was going to get the Sport, and his father was going to get another one. And because they didn't have the Sport, his dad said, "You know what? Just order the other one that you want."
So that is what I said. So he saw a longer lead time for getting the Sport.
Yes, sorry.
So he went to. I mean, that sounds ridiculous in the short term. And by the way, Apple has made a developer edition of the Apple Watch Sport with the blue sports band available through the developer channels in a slightly
Well,
different
you
way.
have to basically show. I think in his case, you have to basically show that you plan on attending WWDC.
It has nothing to do with it because the WWDC attendees are based on lottery. This is a certain amount of set aside Apple Watch Sports for the purposes of getting the physical device.
Well, can you order it now? Can you order that developer version?
That pipeline is much more open, and it gets a different priority than the regular consumer.
I have a feeling because WWDC Lotteries answers already went out. So I have a feeling if they don't open that developer channel, the first thing they're going to say is, "Are you going to WWDC?"
No, that's not right. That's not how they did it. It's already been.
That's how I would have done it. But
okay, well, Chaim, you love your lotteries for things that you're not going to attend. But Paul, when you hear the experience of two students in Chaim's class, in your real life, how many Apple Watches have you seen?
I haven't seen any.
So no one in your office, no one on BART, no one in your apartment building. I mean, I would, as I look at it, I say the same. So these high school students in wherever New Jersey, 2 out of how many students, Chaim?
In my class, 150.
I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, okay, we're over 1% of your students have an Apple Watch, right?
I mean, I have 5 kids with Android watches.
Okay, so it's interesting. So this April 24th release thing was like a shipping date. It seems a little. It seems like this is not ideal, and it seems like the supply chain is kind of beating Apple up. Unless you guys disagree that this is how they wanted to roll it out. Yes, no, this was how they intended to do it.
Is this the right way to roll it out? I think Apple intended it to be scarce supply. I think they knew that it was going to be super popular, and that the whole they wanted people at 3 a.m. or at midnight or wherever to be right there going, because it's going to build that pent up demand. It's going to push it. That's going to keep it popular through July, August, September, right after back to school, and then they can announce the new iPhone and everything else. I think it was planned.
Okay, so the other way to look at it is that because there are so many different iterations of it, and because they always ship with a band, all watches ship with a band, of course. There are no pocket watches, which actually they could make a pocket watch version of it effectively. Maybe it was really hard for them to gauge which editions would be most popular. I don't know how they package it so that like after the orders are placed, bands have to be easier to produce than the watches. Does it not matter which band you get, or the watches packaged and sealed and ready to go? To gauge which are going to be the most popular beforehand, there are many more variables. So maybe that contributed to it.
You can buy the Apple Sport, the Sport Watch, and the band that you want cheaper than buying the Apple Watch pre-made with that band. The bands are cheaper than buying it. Basically, buying the Apple Watch or buying the individual parts are still cheaper than buying the whole thing.
Paul, can you translate that into English for me, please?
You can buy a band and an Apple Watch separately, and it'll be cheaper than getting it bundled together.
Yes. So if you could just, people have been asking, why can't I just buy the rectangle and bend the band separately?
This doesn't sound right to me, though.
Yeah. I bet you when you do the subtraction, it's not going to add up. So you're saying, Chaim, based on the standalone retail cost of like the Milanese Loop.
Okay, hold on. Continue and I'll get it.
So if you order the Apple Watch Sport with Milanese Loop, okay?
Milanese Loop is 150, I think.
Okay, but you're saying that if you were to get the Apple Watch with the sports band, which retails on its own for $49, and then buy the Milanese Loop, I don't even know.
Buy the Apple Watch Sport for $349, and then buy the band, which you can't do because it's a different mechanism. For 150 or whatever it is still cheaper than buying the Apple Watch with the
but that's irrelevant. I mean, the Apple Watch is $200. The premium on the Apple Watch is $200 more. $100 for the Sapphire versus INX front, and $100 for the rather than the composite back, the ceramic back. So you're $100 back and front. That's what you're eating into. Everyone knows that, Chaim. There's a $200 premium on the Apple Watch, regardless of the bands. When you look at the bands standalone versus the band plus a watch, I think it always evens out. So if you order the Apple Watch with the sports band, you're not giving up any discount on the premium bands.
I'm checking that out as we speak, but
Okay, listeners. Haim is a math teacher. He's trying to do simple subtraction first on Apple.
no, I'm looking at the prices. I don't know the prices.
It's $200 for any given to bump up, all things being equal between the.
No, I'm gonna look at the cost of the cheapest Apple Watch.
You do that,
and then I'm gonna.
You do that.
Cheapest,
you do that silently.
I will.
We've already. You can chime back in with the answer. But Paul, what do you think of the idea that Apple is gauging the popularity of the different editions, including the edition of the edition? But that is part of what's going on here. That they didn't guess right to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that's what their goal is right now, but certainly there's an advantage to doing that. They don't have to maybe produce ones that aren't selling later down the road. But I don't think that was their goal.
So I've tried on the watches twice. The first time, the specialist to whom I was assigned via their text message Apple Store app system, was really nasty to me. And I leaned on the table a little bit. She asked me to get off. I accidentally did it again so I could actually get up and close and personal with the things. And she said, "Please, sir, did you hear my instructions the last time?" I mean, it was super obnoxious. There was almost nothing in the drawer that matched up with what I would have ordered, which would have been one of two things: the space gray Apple Watch Sport with a black band by default, of course, or the Apple Watch with with the leather and plastic buckle. And they didn't have either of those in that particular drawer in the 42 millimeter version or for my wrist size. So I couldn't do it, and I had to move them around, and it was a crappy experience. All of the watches in the drawers have a demo on it only, so you can feel the vibration by virtue of the demo, but they're completely inert otherwise. And on that first experience, the specialist, I asked if I could put the Apple Watch back in the drawer where they have, I guess, probably 10 or 12 of them, so I could feel the way that the charger made contact with it and how strong the magnet was. And the way she didn't let me do that, but the way that I put it in, she claimed it wouldn't charge because the chargers had some type of orientation to them, which I know is not true. It's inductive charging. It doesn't matter what part of the circle it's on. She didn't even know that to begin with. So my first experience was crappy, frankly. You heard who's Angela Arentz? What's the lady from that Apple hired from Burberry or something? She needs to.
Well, hold on a second. Did you ask to put it in the drawer? Did you ask, can I feel the charger connection?
Both. I mean, I made it quite clear why I was doing it. I wanted to put it in the charger connections in the drawers. Were not movable. They were like little boxes each, and I wanted to feel how the thing connected to the charger. And she claimed that she had to then reverse it because the only charge was put in the other way, which kind of defeats the purpose of a circular inductive charging cable, right? I mean,
well, you see, Marco was going on and on about this, on how they were able to pop out the links for him at his Apple Store, which I think is in New Jersey somewhere, versus. And then other people are saying no. They had this. They had the two different watches. They had the Sport and the Apple Watch with the one band, and that was it. Like there was more nastiness than really helpfulness.
Yeah, it was not a good experience. Paul, if you had passed by an Apple Store, there's never really a wait to try them on. You do have to use their online or line system. But why haven't you done it? Why haven't you put?
I just haven't had an opportunity.
All right. And you don't feel an imperative to do it. Now that you know the lead times on actually getting the watch, does that push off your desire to try it on even further?
Not really.
Okay. Are you going to? You seem like you are going to buy one. So what weather pattern and phase of the moon has to be in play for you to actually make the online purchase?
I just need time to get to an Apple Store. I've just been busy at work, but I have a lot of concerns that I read a lot of reviews when they came out, and they're not overwhelmingly positive.
By no means are they. No, they're not.
And it's really disappointing. A lot of issues. People talking about the interface not being very intuitive. You have those crazy things where people's tattoos are disabling the functionality of them.
The heart rate monitor. That's not going to
Yeah.
affect you though, Paul. I don't think, unless you have.
No, it's not going to affect me, but it's it says something about the design. A lot of people talking about like the gap between the outer portion of the screen and then the actual display.
Yeah.
Even
worse, is it better or worse than the Moto 360's black, like half moon thing going on there? Did you notice? When your students came into school with the Apple Watch, did they have to take it off and let everyone try it on? Did you try it on? Did they take the band off and play with it? What's been going on?
Well, I probably could have asked to try it on, my one student, but I felt like I don't want to be like a fanboy about it and say, hey, can I try it on? Can I try it on? Can I try it on? If he wanted to let me look at it or whatever, he would absolutely come up to me and say, hey, can I see it? The other kids were let me see it, but he was very protective of it. And I guess this may be his, other than his phone, the most expensive purchase he had.
Well, I would guess so, unless he's wearing like super designer clothing or something.
No,
his shoes maybe. But what if he's a high school student sitting in class? Can you hear the Taptic engine going off? Was it distracting from your perspective at the front of the classroom? Was he playing around with it? Is he now? Are phones allowed in class at all, Haim?
Yes, teacher's discretion.
So you allow phones, I take it then?
Of course.
Okay, of course. But so in an instance where phones are not allowed, is this kid required to take his watch off in class, or can he get his buzzes on his wrist as long as the sound is turned off?
Look, it depends on the teacher. I gave the administration a heads up that back last year, back in June, and said we have to, if we're talking about electronics and we're a BYOD, bring your own device school, then we have to talk about what are the limits. And everyone said, oh, we'll figure it out later. Now there's one person with the watch, and the only watch that really matters clearly is the Apple Watch. Nobody cares about the Android watches. But you're not going to hear on your wrist. You're not going to hear the haptic engine. It's too quiet. I mean, remember the room still has noise in it.
So okay. So I just what is this high school student doing with it? In any case, by the way, which one did he end up getting? Tell us exactly what model.
I didn't even see it. So I remember it being black. So I think it's one of the cheap $549 ones.
Oh, no. $399 would be the cost of the black Apple Sport.
No, I think he got an Apple Watch, not a Watch Sport.
The Apple Watch that's in space black or whatever it's called is $1,100.
No, the $549 one.
Then that's just stainless steel, huh? Come on, get with the program.
No.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Yes. What? The stainless steel one is $599. I think is what it's $399. Yeah, to $599, and then the space black one only comes with the Link bracelet, so it's $1,100. It's $1,099.
No, I'm telling you that I think he got the cheapest Apple Watch, which is $549.
Oh, the cheapest Apple Watch. So he got the 38 millimeter Apple Watch with the Sport Band
and Apple Care.
Oh, and Apple Care. So he wasted $100 on that or whatever that happens to be. Okay. So, Haim, knowing what you know of it now, is this enough to make you switch platform? Are you would you drop $1,000 on a watch and a phone simultaneously?
No, and I don't think. And from what I hear, the learning curve is the very positive criticism is that it's good if you like a learning curve. I'll learn it if I wore it, but I don't think that people buying the Apple Watches are going to be sitting there saying, let me spend my 45 minutes to learn how to use this, because they didn't spend the 45 minutes to learn their phone. This is clearly a status symbol that tells time.
Okay, Paul, do you concur with that, or are you in it to actually use it?
I need it to be usable, and there's still a lot of concerns. People are saying it's really sluggish. I was reading people's tweets where there's a battery drain between the watch and your phone, so your phone's draining faster. So it's not so much as your watch is going to die, but your phone's going to die before your watch because you're synced with it.
There is a perfect. I used this term earlier. But there's a perfect storm earlier where if you're checking your alerts on your watch and then correspondingly on your phone, it's going to your total net usefulness of the phone is going to go down, and then by virtue of that happening, the the watch is going to lose functionality. But the other way to look at it is, and I think this would apply to me, is looking at the alerts on the watch screen only would prevent me from having to use the backlight on my phone, even if it's for like a second at a time, and potentially increase the battery life of the phone. I don't know.
Let me ask you, for the two of you, do you actively go in and turn off all the notifications that you don't need?
I'm pretty liberal about it on my phone, but for instance, I don't allow any games to ever notify me of anything.
But so you're better than most. I mean, you're better than most people. Most people never turn any of that off. You're better because you turn off the games. But
well, I just don't turn them on. But when I get an alert, I want it to be. It's going to be one of three things. It's going to be an email, a text message / phone call, or a news alert. Those are really the only things that come in. That's all I want.
So you don't get replies from Twitter.
No, that's true.
Facebook Messenger.
You're right. I apologize. There's a whole other class of things that I get. You're right. It's mentions on Twitter and. But
okay, you're still at better than most people. Most people just allow everything to go through, and if they didn't sit there with their phone, I doubt they're going to sit there on their watch and say, "Let me think. Do I want this? Do I want that?" So they're going to constantly be having their arm like vibrating.
See, the use case that I imagine is that when I'm wearing the watch and it's within range of the phone, I don't want the phone to give me notifications of phone calls and texts and that type of stuff. I want to see it only on the watch, and then I miss notifications all the time because I don't keep my phone on my person constantly. It's on the desk, wherever, and that's fine, but I'd like to be able to cancel them from my wrist, and certainly not in both places.
And that's what we're hearing. So I mean, the end result is people have to sit there and they have to learn to understand what's an important notification, and they have to understand how to go in and do whatever it is, and with it being sluggish and the differences between these glances, the short glance and the long glance, and the battery life. I don't know yet. I'm still holding off. The Moto 360, the Android, the best Android watch right now is $179, and I'm very tempted to buy it, but I just don't know yet because I feel like first a new one's going to come out, but I don't think we're there yet.
So, Paul, if Google came out with reasonable software that made $179 Android watch work, do the notification functionality, for instance, that I just described between the Android watch and the iPhone, would you opt for that, or are you only at this point your mobile devices are Apple through and through?
No, I would strongly consider it.
Well, Android Wear does not have an iOS client yet.
But I mean, using Bluetooth, I mean, potentially they could mirror a lot of the functionality of what the watch does. Now,
the Apple Watch doesn't have Wi-Fi. It looks like.
No, it does. It has full Wi-Fi. In fact, you can get notifications without the phone.
Okay.
If you're, through with like iMessage that would normally be delivered via the.
And then I was listening to somebody on Twitter saying, and this is sort of self-promotion, was saying, well, I'm doing some research on dating site apps. Should be on the watch, and I'm thinking to myself, the only notification I want from my watch while I'm on a dating site or I'm on a date with somebody is the person's name. As in, I don't want to sit there on Tinder and swipe right to like people on my watch. And I think this whole thing is, I think that app developers are not going to understand that, and they're going to put too much functionality into the watch, and it's going to cause a problem.
Well, Apple is doing their best to limit that through the WatchKit APIs, and they went so far, and this is probably being draconian, but you can't even build a watch-only app for the Apple Watch. You have to use one of the 9 built-in faces. So they've done similar stuff. There is, of course, interactivity between the user and the watch, but it's supposed to be mostly a trough for holding notifications from the phone. I mean, that's mostly how it's supposed to work.
Well, I want, and a lot of people are saying if all it does is tell time and do some text messaging and a phone call and the notifications, I'm happy. And I don't know about that. Would you be happy with just that?
Yeah, I would actually be more happy, frankly, with that. Is what I want. I want to be able to do that stuff without taking my phone out of my pocket, or with leaving my phone on the desk and walking around a little bit. I want that.
You want a Nokia 3360 strapped to your wrist?
No, I want I want, maybe Barack Obama had a Fitbit Surge on during an interview.
You want your Fitbit Surge to be the Apple Watch.
I mean, that is the range of functionality that I want, and then the really simple stuff. Yeah.
But you would probably want it for $200 less.
No,
How's a Pebble fit into this? Do you think a Pebble is a viable?
Their industrial design has never appealed to me.
People who have Pebbles really, really like them, and they're cheap enough. But when you think of a smart watch, you want more smarts.
Well,
and the Pebble, I don't know, it just seems to not do the things that we want.
If you recall, I was berating Fitbit for not making the caller ID, bringing out the caller ID for the Fitbit Force. They did it in the Charge, which I did have, and I've actually packed it up. I need to sell it. But anyway, I like that.
Justin wants notifications, though.
That is what I want. I just want the notifications mostly. What else? And to be the ability to interact with them a little bit, to cancel them, to move them off, stuff like that. I mean, I don't even know how much I want to respond from the watch. Besides yes and no, I guess I want that type of stuff. But
it's bringing back the phone call because it's going to allow you to respond via voice, and you better hope that the voice-to-text speech. So now we're going to have a whole new class of autocorrect. We're going to have phone autocorrects, and I don't know how that's going to end up working out.
I think that the watch. I think this is what you're going to see happen. Mark my words. There's going to be a meme or a term for people wearing smartwatches that aren't charged up, just for the aesthetic of it. And you're going to see people. You're going to say, "Oh, why didn't you get your notification on your watch?" I haven't charged it in 3 days. I just like how it looks. I like the feel of the fluoroelastomer band. And to kind of extrapolate from that analogy, if you will, actually not extrapolate, to go backward from that. If there are people that I believe are going to be doing that, it shows what the mentality is of the wrist-worn device. It's not the primary, it's not your primary device, and it's not going to be. It's also, let's not let people say that it's going to connect us more than it ever has before. That heartbeat thing.
Are you going to ever send your heartbeat to anybody?
Yes. Chaim, that's why I need you to get one, so I can send my heartbeat to you.
Paul, what happens if you sent one to Laura?
If I sent what?
Let's say you both had Apple Watches and you sent her a heartbeat. What would she do?
Send me hers?
Apple has made the 3 most saccharine, heart-rending ads they ever had. One of them is called Us, and it's a series of vignettes of couples that have happy occasions and they get into a little fight, and then the Apple Watch is how they talk to each other again after the fight. So they're really taking this this personal thing.
This will never happen. You will send your heartbeat once or less than 10 times.
Perhaps, but the at least the ad pitches it is a couple's device.
That would be great for a dating app, right? You do Tinder, and then the person's looking at your face, and then you see the response in terms of a heartbeat. I mean, that would be pretty cool, right?
So they could have, without you knowing, as you're Tindering, measure your heart rate, and if you like it, it's going to send the like with the heartbeat.
Instead of going left to right, and you better watch where people end up strapping their Apple Watches to then, because you get into all types of trouble that way.
Okay, so FaceTime is 4 years old now from the iPhone 4. 4S, 5, 5S6, 5 years old, and I still don't know that many people that have ever FaceTime.
I FaceTime all the time now.
We're not normal. Again, we're not normal. We're talking about.
No, I use it to talk to my grandma.
My family, my grandma uses FaceTime all the time.
Yeah, it's a viable communication. Okay, so some people say
1 minute.
The Apple Watch costs $85 to make, so their profit margins are still pretty well intact. Let's really quickly. How many are they going to sell by the end of this quarter? Let's say.
Many.
How many?
Too many.
He wants a number. I don't know. Is 3 million the over/under?
Yeah, I'm going to say there are going to be 5 million people in the United States minimum with an Apple Watch. Probably, I'll bump it up. I'll say they'll sell 8.5 million.
I can't because they sold 6 million. They sold 60 million iPhones to date.
To date, I think they're closing in on 1 billion iPhones.
No, sixes.
Oh, 6s? Oh, I can't. I don't know. It's more than that though. That's more than
Because
that.
you have to remember, the watch costs more than the phone if you're on contract.
Well, it still costs the same, but yes, out-of-pocket expense it's a little higher. Okay, I think that there's going to be an update to the Apple Watch 2 that's cellular before we even know it. But okay, that is another show. All right, this has been episode, according to Haim, 179 of In30. Thanks for listening, and eventually I'm sure you'll get Pocket Casts on your Apple Watch, and you'll be able to listen to us by holding your wrists up to your ear.
Okay,
Thank
bye
you
everyone.
for listening. Bye.